Hey everyone, how's it going? I know it's been a while since I've made a video like this, and obviously I've been kind of, diving into some other hobbies. Got back into video games recently, which was not something I really did last year at all. Picked up guitar a little bit too, although I've been kind of lazy about that. But anyways, hope you guys have been good. Today I want to make a video about thriving as a dissatisfied ALT or thriving as an unsatisfied ALT. I think a lot of ALTs are in this position. And, just like some of my other videos, of course, the title is just supposed to be this very kind of broad brush term, kind of to pull you in, just so you can get a sense of what we're talking about. Just because I say dissatisfied doesn't mean that everyone is going to be the same level, or it doesn't necessarily mean that I hate my job and I hate my life and I'm depressed. It just means, it's going to mean something different for everybody, but basically the feeling that things could be better. And maybe things were better when I first got here. So obviously I think this is going to be relatable not only to people living in Japan, but maybe like any foreign country, and I guess you could kind of take this advice to mean like anything, like any area of life, especially related to work and your social environment where you're just feeling unsatisfied. But specifically, I do want to talk about my experience in Japan and kind of talking to you guys living overseas. I just finished up my Nyugakshiki, and that's why I'm wearing this suit. And that was actually kind of the reason why I wanted to make this video today, because I remember the entrance ceremony from last year, and I was just thinking, this is insane. Like, I just couldn't believe like how different the ceremonies were, and I just found myself so out of place. And like that was the first time I really felt like I did not like being an ALT. Like before that I was like, don't love it, but it's not bad. And then once spring hit, spring and summer of last year, I kind of found myself thinking like, man, this kind of sucks, but nevertheless, through that I decided to recontract. And I have my good days and my bad days, of course, but I want to kind of talk about how I'm trying to shift my mind to make this experience worthwhile the whole time through. Not just the fun times, not just the times that are new and exciting, but kind of every day trying to make the most of being here and being away from my family, because it is a sacrifice. So hopefully some of you guys can relate to some of this, and I'm always looking forward to hearing what you guys have to say as well. But before I get into kind of like my tips or something that I'm trying to focus on as far as thriving as an ALT, I want to kind of talk about the title. So first, let's talk about dissatisfied. Now, like I said, that's going to mean something different for everybody. But being dissatisfied, basically just means that you're to the point where you're so unsatisfied that you're starting to get annoyed, right? And so it's not just that you're unsatisfied, like, oh, things could be better. Okay, yeah, things could always be better. But it's to the point where you're like, okay, things are kind of like way less than I expected now, and I kind of don't like where they're at, to the point where it's really affecting me emotionally and mentally. So that's kind of what I mean, and honestly, I've been there, especially when it comes to the work situation here. But not only work, also when it comes to living in a different culture, but we'll get into that a little more later. And so what do I mean as thriving now? Because, everyone's going to think of something different as far as like, what does it mean to thrive at your job, to be the best at what you do? I'm just talking about basically three things. The first thing is, I would say, that thriving as an ALT would be being useful in the classroom. And I think that's kind of like everyone's main goal in coming here. Like, even though we all kind of come for different reasons, that's where this job is going to be worthwhile, the job, right? But it's not just about the job. You also have to feel, and this is my second point, you also have to feel like you belong to the community in some sense, rather than just being, oh, he's that, ALT, he speaks English, and he helps us out in class with pronunciation, or, she sometimes says hello to us in the hallway, and we kind of do a little chat. If that's all it is, I think, once the kind of the high fades from that, when you first get here, you will feel very dissatisfied if you are not plugged in the community in any other way. And that goes for your local, ALT or foreigner community, but also your Japanese community. So I think the idea is to participate in the community around you to the point where you think it's enough. So it's not necessarily about what everyone else around you thinks. Don't compare yourself to the super extrovert, and don't compare yourself to the super introvert. Just say, okay, with what I'm comfortable with, what I want to do, how much should I be involved in the community? You know, it's going to be different for everybody. And so lastly, what I think it means to thrive is, as far as work and community, mix those together, and how do you feel about those things yourself? It's not so much about, okay, how does my social media look, right? Or not just how does my bank account look, or just not how is my Japanese improving. You kind of have to take the whole thing, right? To where you can really say, as an individual, as someone who moved away from their friends and their family to come overseas, get to a point where you can say, this is time well spent. This is a sacrifice well made, because it is a sacrifice to move away from your loved ones. And of course there's going to be challenges, and that's why to thrive, I think you really need to get to a point within yourself where you feel like this is time well spent, and you're not just waiting to like go back, sort of thing. You know, even if you know when your contract is ending. Oh, okay, sorry about that, guys. I actually just went to go take a dump. Like I was like sitting here filming, and I like couldn't hold it, which is weird, right? Because like I'm like a god at holding it. You know, I used to be a server. But so I run up and go. And I drop my kids off at the pool. You know. And I was like, whew, like normally I try to do that at work, you know, because I want to save money on the water bill. But you know, today all day, never happened. Fine. You know, I know I'm not that regular, and so I went and did my business, and then afterwards, like, whew, my back, my shoulders kind of hurt after that. You ever feel like that? So anyways, yeah, that's why I took my jacket off. That's all I'm trying to say. Anyways, so now here's my tips on how to thrive as a dissatisfied ALT. Okay, so there's like 5 points. I always have these lists, right? Okay, 5 points. Ready? Point number 1 is something that goes with anything in life, and I'm sure we've all heard it. But focus on the good. So this goes as far as the job, and also when it comes to living in Japan. I know a lot of people have complaints about Japan. A lot of people have complaints about the culture, about the government, you know, especially now with this whole Corona situation too. But focus on the good. So I found myself getting frustrated at some things regarding Japanese culture, but then I take a step back and I say, but there's still so much that I like about Japanese culture. And there's a lot that I actually think is better than, you know, in America, where I'm from. So I try to focus on those things. And as far as the job goes, okay, yeah, like we all, you know, kind of have to find different things to focus on. So some people really hate having the free time at work, and they wish they had like more classes. I'm not one of those people. I'm okay with like, you know, 3-4 hours of class a day. And the reason for that is because I value the fact that I am allowed to study at my desk. I have heard of some people not being able to do that, but my supervisor said that's acceptable, you know, just as long as it looks like I'm working, basically. And I'm not like neglecting my actual work as long as that's done. So that's something I can focus on. So instead of saying like, oh, all this free time, what am I gonna do? Oh, I'm wasting my life away in this chair, you know? I'm just thinking, you know what? Who else can sit at work and just study? Japanese people, they can't do that. They can't study, you know, English in the middle of their work. Maybe an English teacher can kind of get away with it. But, you know, some people, they're gonna focus on the fact that they love the children and they love their students, and that's how they're gonna thrive. Or some people are just gonna really thrive off the fact that, you know, even though the number of classes may change, their paycheck won't. Because, you know, if you work at an Eikaiwa school or something, you might get paid at a number of classes, and then when it's slow, you don't get paid as much. So, you know, the point is, try and focus on the good of any situation. You know, whether that be in the workplace or in the community, in the ALT community, whatever it be. Okay, next. This is kind of specifically for the workplace, and maybe one of the most important points I'm going to make, and it is to discover the level at which you can communicate with those around you, aka your coworkers, and then once you discover that, do it and communicate with them in the way that you can. And I have to keep it broad like that because everyone's level of Japanese is going to be different, and everyone's coworkers' level of English is going to be different. Trust me, even if they're English teachers, They all can't speak so well, trust me. Some of them speak phenomenal. Some of them barely speak at all, you know. And so, but that can also be said with, you know, your coworkers that don't speak English. Maybe you speak just a little bit of Japanese, but you know just enough to where you can have a very short interaction with your coworkers. Now, of course, you know, you might do that and think, oh, well, I'd like to have an actual conversation, a small talk, and whatever, like I would maybe if I was working back home. But again, you kind of got to take it for what it is. So even for me, someone who studied Japanese for about 5 years, I have N2 studying for N1, I still find it difficult to communicate with my coworkers. A lot of that is because of the culture difference. A lot of that might be because of the local dialect that I don't know. And the relationship between the teachers is going to be closer amongst themselves than me, so I find it hard to get in the circle, if that makes sense. But no matter the case, the point is, I think, to try and make yourself a part of the staff room rather than just being kind of that silent ALT, which to be honest, I usually am. I was for like, you know, the past 10 months, and these past couple months I've been really making efforts to change that, because I'm realizing that even if I kind of mess up, right, and I say some stupid Japanese, or like let's say I'm talking to a coworker in English and they kind of mess up or they get nervous and say something stupid, the fact is we still had an interaction. And very rarely is that interaction so negative that it outweighs the positive of being able to communicate with them, you know? So, and the more you do that, the more your coworkers will feel comfortable engaging you in conversation if they know at what level they can communicate with you. Okay, number 3. I think this might be a Japan-specific one or maybe an Asia-specific one, but you guys can tell me what you think. Don't let the pressure get to you. And I mean that. Don't let the pressure get to you. Especially in Japan, there's a lot of pressure about what do you do? You know, what are you good at? What is your dream? You know, why are you here? Why did you come to Japan? Stuff like that. And so it starts to make you think like, yeah, you know, what am I even good at? Like, I thought I was good at this one thing. Turns out I'm not that good. So it's easy to get kind of depressed and in that mindset. And to feel like, you know, I have to really be, you know, all that in the bag of chips to get recognition. But don't let that get to you, you know? You're still living overseas. You're still doing your best with Japanese. You're still doing everything you can to be useful in the classroom. And that's all you can do. You can't control anyone else outside of you. You're doing the best that you can do. And at the same time, you're enjoying yourself. So, and you're making money, just try and think about it that way. So don't let the pressure get to you. And don't, you know, let the culture tell you that you have to be, you know, a specific version of yourself, because I found myself thinking that recently since I've been here, and I'm just reminding myself like, no, dude, like that's not what what determines your value, bro. You know, so just keep doing you. Number 4. Now this might sound at first like a contradiction to number 3, but it's not. Number 4 would be to set goals, no matter how small they are. Set goals, okay? Why? Because we as humans are designed to chase meaning. And meaning comes from responsibility in large part, right? So, you know, I don't even know if this is like, people think about this, but like a large part of your happiness is derived from the responsibility that you take on. Now it's a double-edged sword because it's also scary, right? Taking on new responsibility and being in charge of something. But it's also one of the most rewarding things you can do in your life, whether it's entering a relationship with somebody, whether it's starting a new job, whether it's having children, whether it's taking on a task of starting a new hobby, and that takes humility, you know? So set a goal and aim to meet that goal, even if it's small, right? Like, I had a buddy who was aiming to take JLPT N5, the lowest level of N5. You know, he didn't come here knowing any Japanese, and he wanted to set a goal. I think that's an awesome goal. It's like he's setting a goal, he's giving himself something to look forward to, and it gives him something to work towards. It can be money goal, it can be Japanese related goal, relationship related goal, hobby related goal, anything really that can motivate you and give you something to look forward to. My last piece of advice would be simply to think about how you can give people happiness rather than how you can get it from them. So I think oftentimes when we feel down and dejected and we feel like, oh, what am I doing? I'm wasting my time. You know, I could be back home. I could be doing this other job, making more money, blah, blah, blah. We think, right, that like, oh, I wish someone would just come and like make me feel good. But once we realize that that's all really anyone looks for in life, right, is like just kind of small affirmation from people, you realize that you can be such a positive influence in somebody else's life. It's especially your students. Especially where in Japan, a lot of these middle school and high school students are depressed. A lot of them are being bullied. A lot of them do feel the same pressure that we feel and that adults feel here. And so instead of waking up and thinking, well, I wonder what good things are going to happen to me today, why don't we start thinking, I wonder how I can make someone else feel encouraged today? Rather than just constantly waiting for someone to affirm us, we can affirm them. And that way, I also think really that we will gain happiness from that, because, you know, like the old saying goes, it's better to give than to receive. And of course, we all still need to receive as well. You know, it's important that we are, you know, affirmed and that we're loved and all that. But doing that to people, making people feel good, makes us feel good. And I think that's something that is very wise, but very easy to forget. So it's something that I'm going to try and keep in mind, and I would challenge you guys to as well. Alright guys, so I think that's going to be it for this video. Sorry, I think I kind of rambled on a lot, and maybe the conversation went in a couple different directions. But anyways, I hope it was helpful to you. And if you were in kind of a similar situation that I'm in, and you're thinking maybe, oh man, like maybe I shouldn't have recontracted, or why did I even come here? If that kind of stuff is crossing your mind, I hope this video encouraged you. And I'd also like, you know, to hear what you guys think, and I can always use your encouragement as well, or maybe your advice. So anyways, thanks for stopping by again. Hopefully it doesn't take as long again for me to upload another video. But in the meantime, if you're interested, check out some of my other videos. Check out my Facebook live streams, whatever. Thanks for stopping by. God bless you.